All right. So, hello everyone. My name is Karthik Kharbanda, and I did my MTech from IISc Bangalore. And right now, I'm one of the faculties at IIT and GATE classes. Okay. So, today we'll be discussing one of the topics in aptitude that you have, which is number system. All right. Now, considering the aptitude exam itself, aptitude is not only necessary for GATE per se, but also necessary for any of the entrance exams that you'll give after GATE, okay, for getting into the top colleges, or you can, or these will help you in getting your PSU jobs as well, okay. So aptitudes is widely used everywhere, and the good thing is the concepts which are covered will be same throughout, okay. I mean, you don't have to prepare separately for a PSU exam or for GATE. Okay, the concepts covered and the difficulty of the questions that may vary a bit, but the concepts covered will be exactly same. Okay, so number system is actually a big topic. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to make two videos for this. So in this video, this will be the part one, and in which I'll cover only the concepts required in number system. Few of the concept I've selected, and those only I'll cover. Okay, and in the next video, that will be purely problem solving. Okay, so in that video, I'll try and cover all the previous year GATE problems, mostly the difficult ones which have come in the past. All right. So we'll jump on to the concepts that you can say are very frequent in GATE exam. Okay. So the first concept is power cycle of any digit. Okay. So this concept is basically used to find, if I give you a very big expression, this concept you'll use to find what is the unit digit of the result. So you have a big expression and I want to find the unit digit of the result. Okay. This is why we learn this. Second is HCF and LCM. Of course, this has n numerous, applications. All right. And third one is prime and co-prime numbers. Okay. So quickly moving on to the power cycle of digit concept. Okay. So it is actually a very simple concept. Okay. So let me start with an example. So I want to discuss the power cycle of 2. Power cycle of 2. That means when I write 2 raised to power 1, which gives me 2. 2 raised to power 2 gives me 4. 2 raised to power 3 gives me 8. I'm just considering the unit digit here. Okay. If you see, these are the underlying digits. I just want to consider unit digit. 2 raised to power 4 give me 16. 2 raised to power 5 32, 2 raised to power 6 64, 128 and 256. Now, if you observed, I've written powers till 8, okay? But now if you observe here, the observation is that unit digit is getting repeated, okay? 2, 4, 6, 8, and then again 2, 4, 6, 8. So basically what I want to say from here is 2, 4, 8 and 6. So these are getting repeated one after the other. Okay, it is just like a cycle going on and on. Okay, so I can say from here, let me introduce a term known as power cycle length. Okay, or cycle length. So since for every power, the unit digit is repeated after every 4 powers. See, 2, then 2, then you have 2 raised to power 9, which is what, 512, then also 2. So if you see, 2 is being repeated after every 4 powers. Okay, similarly 4 will also be repeated after every 4 powers, similarly for 8 and 6. So I can say the cycle length in case of the digit 2 is equal to 4. Okay, this is the first thing you have to identify. Whether any unit digit is given to you, first identify what is the cycle length. All right, once you identify that cycle length, okay, then it is very easy to solve it. Okay, now what you do is you divide whatever power you have been given. Okay, let's say the power is 1. You divide 1 by the power length, the cycle length. Okay, power cycle length, and calculate the remainder of this. Okay, calculate the remainder of this. Whatever power you have, you divide that by the cycle length and calculate the remainder. Okay, and now the shortcut is, if your remainder is 1, your unit digit will be 2. If your remainder is 2, the unit digit will be 4. If your remainder is 3, then unit digit is 8. If your remainder is 0, the unit digit is 6. This is the small table you can remember. And easily, for any given power of 2, you can find what will be the unit digit in the resultant. For any given power of 2, you can find what is the unit digit of the resultant. Okay. So I hope this point is clear to everyone. So I'll just summarize steps. First thing is you have the power, okay, and you know the digit. Okay, suppose I want to calculate for 2 raised to power 156. So I know, okay, this is 2 now. I need the power cycle of 2. Okay, now you have the power 156. You divide 156 by 4 and calculate only the remainder. I'm not interested in the answer. I'm only interested in the remainder. You calculate the remainder. So 156 divided by 4 will give you remainder as what? Will give you remainder as 0. So you can say the expression, the final expression, the final answer that you get from here, the unit digit of that answer will be 6. Okay, that is I'm only interested in. Okay, I'm not interested in the whole expression. I'm not interested in the answer. I'm only interested in the unit digit. All right. So I hope this is clear for the digit 2. Okay, power cycle of 2 is clear. So let us look at power cycle of 3 now. All right. So now when I check power cycle of 3, again, we'll be only concentrating on the unit digits, only on the unit digits. So if you see, this is 3, 9, 7, 1, 3, 9, 7, and 1. So 3, 9, 7, 1 is the cycle going on. Okay. So basically, 3 will be repeated after every 4 cycles. See, 3, na, and then 3. So then the, and then again you'll have a 3. All right. So 3 is being repeated after every 4 powers. So that means here also, and similarly 9 is also repeated after every 4 powers. 9 and then 9, and again here you'll have 9. Okay. So you can say again, the cycle length in case of the digit 3 is nothing but cycle length will be 4. Okay, because it is repeated after every 4 powers. So first thing is, I told you, any digit, identify the cycle length. Okay, now you have identified the cycle length. Now what you do is, whatever power you have in the question, whatever power you have, you divide that power with the cycle length. All right, so let's say I have 5. Okay, so I'll divide 5 by 4, and I am only interested in the remainder. Okay, so the remainder here will be 1. Okay, now I'll tell you the table for 3. Table for 3 is also simple. See, you can get the table using these 4 only. So if the remainder is 1, the unit digit will be 3. If the remainder is 2, the unit digit will be 9. If the remainder is 3, the unit digit is 7. And if the remainder is 0, the unit digit is 1. Okay, so this is the table for 3. Now, one more thing, many of you might be confused or might make mistake is that when you're dividing by 4, the only possible remainders are 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, do not write 4 as the remainder. It will never happen. All right. So when you're dividing any quantity by 4, the possible remainders are 0, 1, 2, and 3. And all for all the possible remainders, I've told you what will be their unit digits. Okay. So the way we did for unit digit for the digit 2 in the previous slide, the same way we'll perform the same calculations for digit 3. All right. So something like you can have 3 raised to power 157. If you have, you take this power, you divide by 4, you get the remainder. Remainder will be 1. So the unit digit will be 3. Okay. Unit digit for this guy will be 3. Okay. So I hope the power cycle of 3 is also clear. So we have seen 2, we have seen 3. Now these power cycles are actually of length 4. Okay, let us see another power cycle which was of length 4. Okay, that is 8. So now I'll hurry up a bit. Okay, so just stay with me because you have already seen the pattern will remain same. We'll do it for every digit one by one. So this is what 7, 9, 3, 1, then 7, 9, 3, 1, and so on. So cycle is 7, 9, 3, 1. Since 4 unit digits are involved, so you can automatically understand that the cycle length here would be nothing but 4. Okay. Now, since the cycle length is 4, I have identified cycle length. Let me draw the table for unit digit. So if remainder is 1, unit digit 7, remainder 2, unit digit 9, remainder 3, unit digit 3, and remainder 0, unit digit 1. Okay, this and this. Okay, so any number when you have for which has power something 7 raised to power 206 or something like that, take the power, divide by the cycle length, and check the table, and then you can find the unit digit in the resultant value. Okay, we are, again I'm repeating, we are only interested in the unit digits. All right, so let's quickly see one more. Okay, that is your 8. So 8, if you see, this is 8 4 2 6, 8 4 2 6, 8 4 2 6. Now this is the cycle length for everyone. Okay, now the cycle length, you all know that now, by now you all know what is cycle length. Cycle length is 4. Okay, so the table for this guy will be, if your remainder is 1, unit digit is 8. If your remainder is 2, unit digit is 4. If your remainder is 3, unit digit is 2. And if your remainder is 0, the unit digit is 6. Okay, so this becomes the table. All right, so we have seen digit 2, 3, 7, and 8. So for all these 4 digits, we have cycle length equal to 4. Okay, just remember the small point. And of course, even if you forget this, it is very easy. Just write the powers. You'll understand what will be the cycle length. Okay, it is very easy to find in the exam also, even if you somehow forget what is the unit digit. So I'll say, please follow the technique, not try and not remember these things. Okay, just see the technique, whatever I'm doing, and it will be more than sufficient to help you, even if you forget something in exam, to help you over there also. All right, now let's concentrate on the power cycle of digit 4. So if you see 4 actually has the 4 6, and now we don't have a third number which is unique. We have again 4 and then again 6, again 4 and again 6. So here I think you've already figured out this thing yourself, that the cycle length here is nothing but 2. Okay, cycle length here is 2, because after every 2 powers 4 is being repeated as the unit digit, and after every 2 powers 6 is being repeated as the unit digit. So cycle length here would be 2. Okay, so that means if my remainder is 1, then the unit digit will be 4, and if my remainder is 0, the unit digit will be 6. So just remember this point, because I'm dividing by the power cycle length. Okay, that means here I'm dividing everything by 2. So when you divide any quantity by 2, either your remainder is 0 or your remainder is 1. There's no remainder 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, only either 0 or 1. So I need the table for these two remainders, and I've got it. Okay, so I hope the power cycle of 4 is also clear to everyone. All right, so let's see another. Sorry, so just a moment. Yeah, okay, so we'll see what is power cycle of 9. So now if you see 9, the power cycle of 9 is 9 1 9 1 9 1. So again, what is happening is, after every 2 powers 9 is repeated as the unit digit, and after every 2 powers 1 is repeated as the unit digit. All right, so cycle is 9 and 1, 9 and 1. Okay, so this is the cycle that we have. Now since this is my cycle, I can of course say the power cycle length is nothing but 2. Okay, cycle length is 2. So when you divide some quantity by 2, either you get 0 remainder or you get 1 remainder. So what I want the unit digits when the remainder is 0, and I want the unit digit when the remainder is 1. So when the remainder is 1, unit digit will be 9. When the remainder is 0, unit digit will be 1. You can see from here only. Okay, it is not that difficult. You can see from here. See, power is there, 4 divided by 2, remainder is 0, so unit digit is 1. 5 divided by 2, remainder is 1, so unit digit is 9. All right, so this is what we have for power cycle of 9. So I hope this point is clear to everyone. Yeah, this point should be clear. Okay, now we have done 2, 3, 7, 8. Okay, and we have done 4 and 9 also. Now we'll come to 5. Okay. Now we'll come to 5. I'll tell you later the reason why I have not taken it in the same order 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and all. Okay. So I'll tell you later why I did not take that order. So if you see 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Here basically what I want to say is that you take any power of 5, okay, any power of 5, the unit digit will be always 5. Okay, the unit digit will be always 5. Okay, so this is only the cycle. So that means cycle length here is nothing but 1. Cycle length here is nothing but 1, only 5. 5 will always be the unit digit. You take any power of 5. 5 will always be the unit digit. Okay. So this is pretty straightforward. Okay. So we'll check for 6 quickly. Sorry, this is 6. Okay. This is 6. So now if I check for 6, this is 6, 6, 6, 6. Now if you see here also, this is happening that for every power of 6, the unit digit is always 6. For every power of 6, the unit digit is again 6. Okay. So I can say here also the length of the power cycle will be what? 1. The length of the power cycle will be what? 1. Okay. So this point should be clear to everyone. Okay. And of course, you take any power of 6, ultimately the unit digit that you'll get is 6. All right. So this was for 6. Similarly, you can actually do it for 1 and 0. And yeah, 2 done, 3 done, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, done. So 1 and 0 also, you take any power of these, the unit digit will be 1 and 0 themselves only. Okay. All right. So now what I'll do is, since I've covered every digit, I ran a bit I hurried a bit towards the last few because they are not really complicated. You know, okay, 6 power of anything will give you 6 as the unit digit. So I ran a bit quickly. All right. So yeah, before we discuss LCM and HCM, HCF and LCM, so I'll just take one of the slides. All right. So now I just want to summarize these. So if you saw 2, 3, 7 and 8, okay, and I'll write 4 and 9, then I'll write 5 and 6 and 0 and 1. Okay. So these are forming their own groups. Okay. And there is similarity between those. So 2, 3, 7 and 8, the similarity is that all of these 4 will have power cycle of length 4. Okay. Length is equal to L is equal to 4 here. In these, L is equal to 2 and in these, L is equal to 1. So if you remember this image, it will be very easy for you later on. Okay, just remember this image in your mind. Power cycle of length 4 are for digits 2, 3, 7, 8. Power cycle of length 2 are for digits 4 and 9. Power cycle of length 1 is for digits 5, 6, 0 and 1. Okay. So I hope this concept is clear to everyone. What do you mean by power cycle of digit and what is the application also? Okay. So in part 2, I'll solve a couple of gate problems on this concept and you will see how useful this concept is. Okay. How useful this concept is. Okay. So this is what we had in power cycle. Okay. So now the next concept that I want to discuss is LCM and HCF. Okay, LCM and HCF. So everyone knows that HCF and LCM, this is highest common factor. Okay, or HCF is also known as GCD. Okay, GCD is greatest common divisor. Greatest common divisor. Okay, LCM on the other hand is known as least common multiple. Right, it is known as least common multiple. Now I know, okay, HCF, I know LCM. So everyone already has studied all this. Okay, so I just want to make sure that from every basic point of view, you are covered. Okay, so there will be few gaps in your knowledge. So I just want to start from the beginning and continue so that every small thing which was not clear or there is some confusion in that, that should be clear when we, discuss this topic as a whole. All right. So let me just try and get a blank slide. All right. Okay. So Before we go to HCF and LCM, it is very important to understand one more topic which is useful later on also, which is known as prime factorization. Okay, prime factorization. So in prime factorization, what do I mean is, let me take an example for you all. Let's say 42. All right. So there's a number 42. Okay. So you know what is factorization? Factorization is write 42 in some terms. Okay. So 42 can be written as 6 into 7. All right. Or it can be written as what? 14 into 3. Something like this. This is known as simple factorization. While prime factorization means write 42 in terms of prime numbers only. Okay. Prime numbers are numbers which are not divisible by any other number except 1 or itself. Okay. Something like 13 or 17 or 11. These are all prime factors. Okay. So these are all prime numbers. So when I say prime factorization, that means you have a number 42. You want to write this in terms of some factors. They can be more than two factors, but all those factors should be prime in nature. Okay. So 42 can be written as what? 2 into 3 into 7. Now the beauty over here is, if you see 2, 3 and 7, all three are prime factors. All three are prime factors, prime numbers, I'll say. Okay. Let me take another example for better clarity. So let us take what? Let us take. Let us take 70. Okay. So 70, if I want to write, I'll write it as 2 into 5 into 7. So now if you see 2, 5 and 7 are nothing but all three of them are prime numbers. So this is what I mean by prime factorization of any number. Okay. This is very important to understand HCF and LCM. All right. It's very important to understand HCF and LCM. So now let's go back to our HCF and LCM discussion. So I hope prime factorization is clear to everyone. All right. So now what I'll do is, I'll just take, for now, I'll calculate an HCF and LCM for two numbers. Okay. Then I'll tell you another way in which you can calculate it for more than two numbers also. Okay. I'll tell you that also. So right now I have two numbers. Let me take an example, simple example. Let me take 36 and 48. Okay. So my question is, I want to find highest common factor and least common multiple for 36 and 48. So what do you do? So the basic procedure will remain same. The basic procedure is, first write 36 and 48 in terms of its prime factorization. So what I'll do is, I'll write 36 as 2 into 2 into 3 into 3. Then 48, I'll write it as 2 into 2 into 2 into, and what? 24, 12, 6, then 2 again into 3. All right. So this is the prime factorization for 36 and 48. Remember, these are prime factors. So 2 and 3 are only possible. I cannot have a 4 or a 9 or anything like that. Okay. Just remember, write the prime factors of 36 and 48. Now you have to identify 2 points. One is the common part. Common part means the factors, prime factors, which are occurring in both the numbers. Prime factors which are occurring in both the numbers. That means I have a 2 common. All right. I have a 2 common again. That's all right. I have a 3 common here. And now if you see, I don't have anything common apart from these. Okay. This, and this are the uncommon part. Okay. So first you wrote the prime factors, then you find the common part. Okay. Now HCF is equal to common part written once. Common part once. Okay. Common part is what? 2 into 2 into 3, which is nothing but 4 into 3, which is 12. So HCF is 12 in this case. Okay. So HCF, remember, is common part once. That is very easy to solve any kind of problem. Just remember this, common part once. Okay. So next up, what I would like to discuss for how to calculate the LCM. So I hope HCF is clear to everyone. Again, these I think all of you might have done all this, but just as a reminder, just as some revision, I'm doing it. LCM can be written as what? LCM can be written as common part ones into uncommon part ones. Uncommon, which is not common. Okay. So now common part is what? 2 into 2 into 3. Okay. Into uncommon, you have to take from both of them. Okay. So uncommon, I'll write using some other color. That would be easier. So uncommon will be what? 3 into 2 into 2. Okay. So now if you combine everything, whatever answer you'll get will be the final answer. So this will be what? This will be 4 into 4, 16, 16 into 9. 16 into 9 is what? 144, right? 16 into 9 will be 144. Yeah, 144. Okay. So the LCM in this question will be 144, and the HCF we have already calculated, which is 12. Okay. HCF is 12 and LCM is 144. All right, so I hope this concept was clear. Of course, you can go and practice a lot of questions. You can find a lot of materials online from which you can practice questions from this topic. All right, so this is done. Okay. Now, next thing what I want to introduce is a formula which will help you a lot. Okay. So if I say two numbers are given to me, n1 and n2. Okay. And LCM of n1 and n2, LCM of n1 comma n2, let's say it is L. Okay. And highest common factor of n1 comma n2, let's say it is H. So what you have to do now is I'll give you a formula which will link n1, n2, L and H. Okay. So the formula is n1 into n2 is equal to L into H. This is the formula. All right. This is the way in which I can say product of two numbers is equal to product of their LCM and LCM and HCF. Product of their LCM and HCF. Okay. Now remember one more thing. The important part is this formula is only valid when you have two numbers. Okay. This formula is only valid when you have two numbers. If I give you three numbers, then this formula becomes invalid. Okay. So what I want to say is if you have n1 into n2 into n3, you cannot write this as LCM into HCF of n1, n2 and n3. Okay. This thing becomes invalid. This is a big no. Big no. Only this formula, the product of numbers is equal to product of their LCM and HCF, is only valid for two numbers and not three numbers, not four numbers, and so on. All right. So right now we discussed how to calculate LCM and HCF for two numbers. Okay. And then we saw, okay, what is the formula for this? Okay. All right. Now, one more thing I want to consider when we see two numbers. Let's say n1 and n2 I have. Okay. And I tell you one more thing. I'll tell you that the highest common factor of n1 comma n2 is equal to, let's say, h. Okay, highest common factor of n1 comma and n2 is equal to h. So what you have is you can actually write n1 and n2 in terms of h. That is, you can write this as h times of x and h times of y. Okay, h times of x and h times of y. Okay. Now see, if you see, observe, h will be the common part here. H is the common part. And x comma y are the uncommon part. X comma y are the uncommon part. Okay. So this is just one thing you should keep in mind. All right. Also, x comma y will be co-prime. I have not introduced co-prime, so just hold on a minute. Next slide we'll see what are co-prime numbers. So again, I'll revisit this thing, okay, when we see in the next slide. All right. So h will be the common part and x comma y will be the uncommon part. This is a way in which you can assume two numbers. So the question something like this. So question will be some in this form. Let's say I tell you there are two numbers, okay, and HCF of those two numbers is 12. Okay, now you try to find the product of two numbers, something like that, or they'll say HCF is this and LCM is this, something like this. Okay, so if somehow there arises a situation when you want to find or when you want to assume what those numbers are, this is the strategy you'll use. This is the strategy you'll use. Okay, you'll assume n1 to be h into x, n2 to be h into y, where x and y are the uncommon part and h will be the common part. Okay, so I hope this point is clear. Now I've mentioned this point that x comma y are co-prime. So just hold on a bit. We'll just move to prime and co-prime and revisit this point again. Okay. So next, I'll tell you what are prime and co-prime numbers. Okay. So first, we'll discuss prime. Prime you have already seen. What are prime numbers? Prime numbers are any number which is either divisible by itself or by 1. All right. So prime numbers, if I talk about prime numbers, let's take an example. It will be much easier. So let's say 12. Okay. Now 12 is divisible by 12 and 1 both, but it is also divisible by 2. Okay. So it is not a prime number. All right. Let's say 17. Now 17 is divisible by 1 and 17, and except these two numbers, it is not divisible by any other number. Hence, this is a prime number. Okay. You all might have already had studied prime numbers and so on. Okay. So I'm just revising this a bit for you. All right. So this is what I mean by prime numbers. Now co-prime numbers, I agree, we don't use that very often. So it will be a tendency for everyone to just forget it. Okay. You might have forgotten it. See, co-prime, that means you'll always have a pair of numbers with you. When you want to check whether something is co-prime or not, you check for every pair. So let me take two numbers. Let me take two numbers, 12 and 16. Okay. What you do is you try and find the highest common factor of these. Okay. Find highest common factor. If HCF is equal to 1, then pair is or the numbers are co-prime. Okay. If HCF is equal to 1, then the numbers are definitely co-prime. So for co-prime numbers, the HCF, their highest common factor should be 1. Okay, should be 1. All right. This is the definition for co-prime. Now different examples I can take. I can take 4 and 9 also. Now 4 and 9, the highest common factor is 1. Okay. So these two are co-prime. Okay. But remember, 4 and 9 are not prime numbers. Are not prime, but their pair is co-prime. So what I want to say is, when I say two numbers are co-prime, it is not necessary that both the numbers should be prime. This is one thing I want to tell everyone. If I say two numbers are co-prime, then their the individual of them may be prime, may not be prime. Okay. So over here, these two are co-prime, but 4 and 9 themselves are not prime. Okay. But if I say two numbers are prime, let's say 2 comma 3, then definitely they should be co-prime. Okay. The reverse thing is true. If two numbers are prime, then definitely they will be co-prime. Okay. So this is all I have on prime and co-prime. So now let's switch back to our discussion on this point. Okay. Now you know what are prime and co-prime. So since x and y are uncommon part, that means they don't have anything in common. So the only factor which will be common in both of them will be 1. Okay. So if I say x and y don't have anything in common, that means the HCF of x comma y is nothing but 1, and hence I can say x and y are co-prime. All right. So now I think the picture should be clear about how to assume what are prime, co-prime, and why I am saying that HCF of x comma y should be 1. Okay. HCF of x comma y will be 1 because x and y are the uncommon part. Okay. All these concepts we'll use when we solve all the gate problems. Okay. So please make sure you get a good hold on these concepts. Okay. Now, another point, the next point is, what if you have numbers more than 2? Okay, let's say I have 5 numbers with me. I want to find LCM of those numbers. Let me take an example. Okay, let me take an example. So example will be I have 5, 15, 36 and 3. Okay, I want to find LCM. Now writing prime factorization and all, deciding uncommon part and common part would be a difficult task here and a lengthy one, I'll say. Okay, so the better way is, I hope you all remember this method. Okay, so you just write all the numbers 36 and 3, and you start with the lowest prime number, that is 2. You start with 2 and keep on dividing until you cannot divide any of the numbers in the list with 2. Then you take the next prime number, then you take the next prime number, and you continue. Okay, so let me take 2 first. This is 5, it cannot be divided, it cannot be divided, this can be divided, 5, and then 3, and then 3. Now in this list I don't have any number. In this list I don't have any number which can be divided by 2. So I'll take the next prime number 3. 5, 5, 5, 1, and 1. Alright. Now let me take 5 now. 5, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. Once I get this list, that means my division is complete. And whatever numbers I have on the LHS, on the part which is on the left hand side of this line, okay, I'll just multiply them, and that will be my LCM for the whole list. So LCM for this whole thing, 5, 15, 30, 6, and 3 will be what? Will be 2 into 3 into 5. So this is what? 15 into 2, 30. So LCM for all of these will be 30. All right. So this is how you can find LCM for any of these numbers, any of the numbers. Okay. And HCF thing remains same. HCF is the factor which is common in all of them. That will be the HCF. So common part ones still remains same for the HCF technique. Okay. But for the LCM, uncommon part maybe some place it is uncommon, some place it is common, and on. So that is why we find that this technique is much more simpler to understand and to solve, and it is less time consuming as well as compared to what we were using for two numbers. Okay, so I hope LCM and HCF for two numbers and more than two numbers is clear. Okay, so I'll summarize what we discussed, the concepts. First we saw power cycle. In power cycle we'll saw all the digits, cycle length 4, cycle length 2, cycle length 1. Okay, then we came to HCF and LCM. For two numbers, how we find HCF and LCF. Then we discussed prime factorization. After prime factorization, we came here and we saw how to assume two numbers if you are given your HCF. Okay, then we switch to co-prime and prime. What are prime, what are co-prime, how to find whether a given pair is co-prime or not, and then we again came back and saw HCF and LCM for more than two numbers. Okay, so thank you everyone. I hope this was interesting and instructive for everyone. All right, goodbye, thank you. So again, we'll have the second video as well. So please make sure you see part 2, and that will discuss on how to solve problems, previous year gate problems using these concepts.